on the show. Keep them coming this particular morning. Moving on to other conversations. I know with the public debate over Zambia's $6.5 billion in national reserve, making rounds on social media. And the conversations this morning are speaking into the same one, really. National security or money beyond the reach of ordinary Zambians. And I've been joined by Mr. Calvin Chisanga, who is an economist, and of course, you'll be able to speak into this, whether or not international reserves are serving critical economic purpose. Mr. Sanga, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you so much to have me here.
Indeed. So maybe let's begin these conversations with international reserves. What are reserves really before we get into whether or not they're serving its purpose?
Okay, we may tend to call them as well as national reserves, which basically help to buffer the external shock. Obviously, we understand that growing the economy, there are a lot of things that can happen, eventualities, external shocks, and many other aspects. But not only serving the aspect of trying to serve effect on the external shocks, it also comes in to help boost the economic aspect in terms of trying to see this country as an attractive, resourceful country for the investors to come and interplay into this country. So it's part of the framework under the trade and investment patterns. For us to, like the way Mr. Nyabi Lungo was talking about you looking beautiful, that's how it's supposed to happen with the Zambian case. That reserve is what complements to the beautiful looking of this country, so that the investors can actually be able to come and interplay into this country. So imagine if we do not have this. One, we have a problem on the external market. We are talking of kwacha performing very well because that framework of national reserves or reserves have actually been able to interplay indirectly, and it's something that is supporting somehow. So now, by extension, we can be able to speak into the aspect of financial safety net. There are challenges where we can actually be able to have something like what basically happened with COVID. For us to maneuver around, COVID issues, obviously we had to survey the effect around all those factors because we are running low production. So supposing, like in the case where we are, Zambia had to go to a civil war, or even any political confusion of some sort, we know that the reserves can keep us for a number of times. So that's the work of the reserve. Maybe in the simple language and in practical sense, it's when you are at household level, keeping some money for emergency. Anything that should be able to happen, you are able to touch on that emergency money and help out from that basis. But not only as an emergency money in the case at national level, it's also helping to support trade and commerce.
Right.
It's also helping to support investors' confidence to come and flock into this country. And not only that, also it's also helping now to look at a number of good things like stabilizing the kwacha and also helping many other framework that the country now is creating with this strong macroeconomic environment.
Having said that, while strong reserves are an important indicator of macroeconomic stability, what is their meaning really when they have little meaning to ordinary citizens if they do not translate into better livelihoods through jobs, affordable food, quality healthcare, improved education, as well as a lower cost of living? Just the other day, hearing from the JCTR, just with Center for Theological Reflection, telling us that a family of 5 now, would have to spend around 12,000.
Okay. Maybe before I just get to understand or to give you the idea about the food basket, I'll give you a framework. Zambia is coming from where the economy was overeating. And just to build up where we are, it has taken a number of key fundamental efforts, especially when you look at the framework around the debt servicing issues, the framework around key sectors in the economy like mining, agriculture, tourism, and many others. And again, also looking at the governance patterns, some of the policies that we are working with in certain key sectors were put on shadow boxing, meaning we could not have some sense of stability or consistency from there. So attending to all these factors from that macro level, obviously it had a number of complex factors in terms of challenges. Cost of living has been an overriding factor all the time. And even as we speak, we have not been able to tackle it perfectly. But of course, working on the framework where we have to build a positive nature of the macroeconomic conditions, that is what actually can be able to come and touch on the poverty on ground level effect. But again, with the aspect that we are able to see where we are sitting right now, it's important to recognize that Zambia, coming from all these past experiences and building up to where we are, we have harmonized some of the issues that we should be able to talk about. Issues to do with the debt restructuring issue, which I believe, when you reflect back, the previous governance authority had to lash into this and made Zambia to actually be able to be covered with this aspect. So, it's also very important to mention, to say that for us to eat into, good effect around high cost of living, it requires for us to first of all make the framework, like making sure that the mining sector not being able to have that inconsistency in policy, and also they have got a steady predictable environment as well. And not only that, also, even when you look at the governance architecture, people that are in government, central government, central bank, and many others, they have to show that consistency as well. So all these things have actually been able to work out from that basis. So what we're trying to see right now is that for us, it has to take a bit of time to actually be able to see the effect that should be able to eat into communities in terms of trying to work on macro, micro prosperity. And we are slowly getting there, because obviously you look at the key fundamentals like inflation. Inflation is holding the pricing even for tomorrow, meaning whatever you are seeing today selling at maybe 50 kwacha, it will still hold up to next week, meaning we're not going to jump the prices. Already those are key microeconomic fundamentals that have actually been able to be put in place there. So a number of things that we can actually be able to say. Obviously, one who can also be politically inclined there would be able to say it takes about maybe few times to reach this point. Like I could even get it from Mr. Mungu, where he was mentioned to say 5 years is a medium term. Yes, it's a medium term, but also it depends with how certain things have actually been able to be shaped. Look where Zambia was. Look at the picture where we are coming from. So even when you combine it with COVID, I think it's very sensible to say that working on the framework, I'm not endorsing anyone, but I'm just speaking from the economic side. So Zambia was in a very bad shape. And to see where we are going and what we have achieved, I think it's recommendable. And we just hope that whoever comes after August as a elected member of parliament or president, they should continue with this good framework which is actually being built. Because we believe that, yes, Zambia has been facing with the challenge of poverty, high cost of living, and all sort of things. That is very categorical to say, and it's right in the domain of public and everyone else there. But again, it's also important to say that at least we have managed to build some of the things that are basically now giving shape. If we continue with this trajectory, I think we should be able to get to some sound growthy patterns of some sort.
Right. So macroeconomic gains are not being felt in the daily lives of Zambians at the moment, with your explanations. And when will we be able to experience? When will the Zambians? It's
not true. It's not true that it has never been felt.
So it has been felt.
It has been felt, but only that it's just the level in which we are going to perceive it. Because obviously, for the economy to hold like this, and to see kwacha appreciating, to see inflation going down, to see the cost of capital being consistent in a way, and to see mining production getting more and more production and more of export basket, I think it's something that's very commendable. Even when you look at the current positive agricultural production, I think it is telling a good story from there, telling to say that Zambia is standing at a position where it has made some recovery of some sort in terms of those sectors that we are faced with challenges. If you look at where we're coming from, I think it's also ideological to say that growing the economy, some of the things are not human-made aspect. Some of the things are external factors. Like, for example, COVID. When we had COVID, definitely tourism was not functioning. When we had Iran and Iran and Ukraine, or even just these geopolitical tensions that we had experienced, you saw that we are affected by one way or the other, especially when it comes to fuel and petrochemical materials. We were faced with that challenge. We could not control that. When we had the drought situation that actually, came through to a situation where we made the low production on agriculture as well as electricity or energy production, we all understood that this was an external factor. So some of these things, despite even some human error in terms of policy misdirection or policy mistreatment, we still think of also other external factors that we could be able to speak. And again, if you look at the pattern of Zambia's electoral process, the electoral economics also has a very strong appeal to what is happening right now. I think it's important to mention, to say that whenever you've got politicians learning economic factors or economic wheels, there are also issues that we can also be able to point out. It's not also important to just look at things from the perspective where we are also talking of so much being political. I think, for me, I would say whoever comes in power, as long as it's doing correct things, will commend. Even just we stand on a non-partisan point. I think it's important to even say that our job, it does not even favor anyone, not even people in government. But when they're doing certain things correctly, economically, I think we have to recommend them.
Right.
Yes.
And I know also you're not a politician, but away from maybe just to top it up with what politicians say, and maybe how we can make this country better regardless of who it is that is leading. The president did speak into how things will continue to get better if the UPND retains power in the August 13 general elections. When are we ever going to move away from maybe things getting better regardless of who is on the seat? Are we going to ever have like a national agenda, like regardless of who takes office, things will continue, like continuity? Because we hear politicians speak into how you have to continue to vote for me, or else some of these wonderful things that you've been able to see will not continue.
You see, that's the challenge which Zambia has been facing. I think I would speak this from the bottom of my heart. The challenge that has been coming through with our governance pattern, it's because of the individualistic views. If somebody wants to become a president, they want to do it their own way. But I think it's important also to say that the national development plan agenda should be guided to a point whereby, even if there happen to be any change of government, certain priority areas that have actually been earmarked to achieve should be worked on without any altercation. Because we see what has been happening also in the case that, of course, you have mentioned the point of whoever comes in power can also change, or whoever is in power thinks of consistently working on some of the projects, which is also true. I think we need to reach a political maturity where if somebody comes in power, regardless of whatever policy that the previous person made, it should run on continuation. It should not just end just from that person's office,
right,
being in office or being a holder of that office.
Even as you are almost winding down,
yes,
your thoughts, Mr. Chisenga.
Yes, so it's important to say that governance in this way should not just work out based on a personality like Naomi is a president. No, whatever we have made as framework for this country, it should run on continuation. Whether it's HH continues going into this office, the program should just land there. Whether it's even Munduvile is coming, for me, I believe whoever's got potential to learn this country should also look at what has been made by the other people. And it's also important to look at a policy framework that should be standing so strong on building this nation. And much more, for us to to kill the cost of living effect, we need to learn production. This country needs a lot of production, a lot of manufacturing. If we get to gear up with a focus to drive, productive sense of this country, it will be able now to even speak much quicker than what we should be able to see. And again, the spectrum of what we have seen in terms of high cost of living, it can only be cultivated by, first of all, making the macroeconomic variables in positive direction. Then that will transmit even much quicker. So I believe, as the last point, I think it's important to look at production, maximizing value addition in agriculture, mining, and also making sure that the education faculties, like the way we are trying to do free education, I think it's important aspect. Then we should also look at a healthy system. If we all look at all these various sectors, I think we should be able to put Zambia to the right, stage, and we'll be able now to promote growth as it is actually being able to be seen from there. We have built good fundamentals. What is required now is to make sure that we start now learning on the growth side of things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mr. Kelvin Chisanga, thank you so much for speaking into an issue that's been heated, of course, the other week on reserves, international reserves, and whether or not they are serving economic purpose. Thank you for speaking to us this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Indeed, that was Mr. Kelvin Chisanga, who is an economist and just breaking it down for us on international reserves and whether or not they are serving critical economic purpose. And yes, we get to wrap it up for this week. Thank you so much for being here with us throughout the week. On behalf of the guests that actually did come in earlier, Mr. Muhabe Lungu, the rest of the entire production team, we will speak to you next week, same place. I do see Joseph in the comment section, Timothy, Joyce Moore, and the many others that have been able to actually interact with us. We were not able to take calls because of the nature of our show, but we'll be back with them next week, same time, same place. We may say our goodbyes here, but the conversation on our different social platforms, especially the Facebook page, does not stop. Have yourself a fantastic weekend ahead. Be safe.